Hello and welcome to the July reading wrap-up. This month, I didn't get much read, and I know I'm not going to finish anything else before the end of the month, so we're filming this a little bit early. Go me. Bye early. It's the last day of the month. Never mind. I don't know where I was going with that statement. I've lost track of what day it is, obviously. I'm Morgan. If this happens to be the first time you clicked on my channel, that was probably a really great, weird introduction for you. But let's go ahead and start with the ones that we did get read. The first one that I read in the month would be our buddy read of Dreadful by Caitlin Rozakis. And this one's review should be up next week. I don't know why I didn't already do it. Didn't it be up this week? I don't know. I just didn't. This was so much fun though. Our main character wakes up in a burning, like not everything on fire, but like there's little fires everywhere. Dark wizard's lair, or a room, and he quickly surmises that it's a dark wizard's lair. And then his next realization is he has no idea where he is or even who he is. And he is trying to put the pieces together and slowly coming to the realization that this might be his workroom and he's the dark wizard. This is just such a fun story of Gav trying to play it cool as a dark wizard and having no idea what he's doing, and slowly coming to the realizations of things about his character as he doesn't even remember himself. He does have slight flashbacks though of what his past, like normally bad memories, so what might have led him to becoming said dark wizard, and why there's a princess locked up in the dungeon. It's such a humorous take on who's supposed to be a villainous character, and I just enjoyed it so much. It was a 4-star read. It was a great way to start out the month. I wish all of them had just kept going as great as this one was. Okay, but we're gonna do the review. There will be more to say in the review for sure. For the wrap up, let's just keep it simple. I try not to babble about everyone. The one I think I finished next, my little thing looks like this came next, but I could have just put the other one in the middle because I was like, ooh, perfect, you could go here. It'd be special. Don't question. The next one though we'll say is Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. This one also got its own review video if you would like to go check that one out. This is the first book in the Stormlight Archive series though, which is a big epic fantasy taking place in Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere universe on the world of Roshar. This one, there's so many things. I love the world building and the depth he gives and the history he gives. It just, the details. I like the magic system, which is so hard to talk about in this first book because you don't actually get to really see and know what's going on much. There are hints of this magic system, but you don't understand the differences of some things or how they work. That we get to go much more into that in the next one, I think. But this one is just introducing us to our main characters, and the ones that play the biggest part, even though you do actually see from more POVs than just these, is Kaladin, Shallan, and Dalinar. A little bit maybe we'll call Zeth a main character too. And just how they shape what is happening and why they are important to what is happening in the world. Okay, for one of them you might not understand that as much. Besides the world building, also the depth Sanderson gives to his characters. While you'll see more from Kaladin, you get his backstory through chapters. You get to see him in despair and growth in this book than the others. The next book, though, will be focusing in more on another character's backstory and how they got to the point they are and what they're going through emotionally. And you will get to see character growth through all the books and why they are the way they are. It's a beautiful job. A little bit emotional as this was a reread, and there's some characters there that I know where they're going, and I'm like, oh my gosh, seeing them in this state. Let's move on from that though. We're going off on side tangents, I feel like. As I said, there's a whole review, and this was 4.5 stars, of course. 4.5 stars. That is important. Next up was The Last Story by Meg Schaefer. This one, it was so sweet. Though halfway in, it did have a shift, and I would have liked for something not to have been resolved right at that point if we had kind of kept going in that we need to find something, the mystery aspect, a bit before this got resolved. But it did, and then instead we were into this second sort of story arc, which is okay, but very kind of rushed feeling and just out of nowhere. Okay, though, this story, from its description, you would kind of think we're following one character, and you are following only one character for a significant portion until you are introduced to our secondary character. And then it'll go back and forth, but actually I feel like more after that point from our secondary character. Two of our characters, it starts like 15 years before, and two of our characters are Rafe and Jeremy. They are 14-year-olds that got lost on a field trip to Red Crow State Forest in West Virginia. They were lost for 6 months, and then miraculously they return. Where did they go? They don't know. They won't say. They came back in good health, except for now they have kind of scars, both mental and physical, that they cannot explain. Rafe can't explain it because he has no memory whatsoever of what happened. And now, 15 years later, Rafe is an artist, kind of. Well, he is. He is an incredibly gifted artist, but he doesn't do it for profit or anything. He works to paint hotel rooms at an historic hotel in his hometown. Every summer he does that, and he also just kind of takes care of land and wildlife and secluded from peoples, because it was very hard for him to be around people. So a lot of mental trauma after what happened that he doesn't remember. Lots of mental trauma. And then Jeremy is a famed missing persons investigator, like uncannily good at finding missing girls specifically and missing people. So yes, he's been doing that for the last 15 years pretty much. After school, that's what he started doing. And so Emily, the main character we see from first, who is a vet tech, has gone in search of Jeremy to ask him to find her sister, who is also missing in Red Crow State Forest. I will say that when I first heard of this, I thought it was her younger sister, but it is an older sister actually. So the first part of the story is Emily searching out Jeremy and convincing him to help find her sister, and also to recruit Rafe back into it. And then the second part is the part I can't really talk about because it is also, though, I think said on the blurb / the back that this has Narnia vibes, Narnia for adults. I mean, it's not like too anything, but it's just seeing through this lens, like the journey, like that. Okay, I can't say it. It's a bit open at the end to where maybe we could return to it. Before the last chapter, I really thought, okay, it's just going to be the end of the story. We're not going to have that. But then there was a thing. There was a thing that's like, oh, okay. So maybe she could return to this if she wanted to. It does have this whimsy vibe to it, this very light, cozy feel through a lot of the book. It was beautiful and made me think of like fall, and yes. And the second part is just so much. The only thing is the timeline kind of in the second part / the past. It was a little rushed, and also just, I don't know, the past makes it feel like years when it was 6 months. Sometimes when they talk about it, they did a whole lot of stuff in 6 months apparently. Can't say things. And also there's just this beautiful kind of love story that's wrapped up in it. And it's very, very sweet and gives, true love vibes. Then I started one that I was, thought, okay, this is going to be awesome. It's Adrian Tchaikovsky. We love him. Especially sci-fi. I've not read a sci-fi that I didn't really like. Alien Clay, though. Alien Clay lost me somewhere, and I can't even put my finger on where. This one, you are following Arten Dagdiv. I really don't know how you're supposed to say his last name. The book makes so many comments, though, towards the beginning as people are introducing to him and everything, that they keep mispronouncing his last name. Arten was sent to the prison planet of Kiln. There's a more technical name for it. That's the layman's term name. Because he was a political dissident. He is also a bioxenologist slash ecoxenologist. Pretty much he studies alien life, alien worlds. That is his field of study. At this point in time, though, we have discovered other planets. We've even colonized a few other planets. But we also have at least 3 that are sent prison labor camps for study, though. Like they send scientists here specifically to study, to put the pieces of the universe and finding life and finding out how a world's created into this very specific doctrine, of humanity was always going to be the outcome. That's a lot like what the Mandate has in Alien Clay, because they have this very specific doctrine of where they are trying to fit science into their mold. They are fitting society. They are ruling with this iron fist to the fact of where anybody who speaks out against it or tries to, have people think on their own, anything, they are rounded up, tortured until they give up other people and shipped off to work on, the rest of their lives on prison planets. Arten, though, being a scientist, he does have a slightly better job, at least on this planet, as he gets to study the alien lifeform creatures here on the planet. The planet itself is highly toxic to humans. So the camp is in a dome, and it has to be decontaminated from foreign, incoming bodies, and everything is very, very cleaned before it comes in, so that way it does not kill you in gross ways. It has always actually been Arten's dream, though, to be able to find the alien life and be able to just, study it and discover if they had intelligence. And on this planet, things are not as they seem. It's about 30 years away from Earth. I'm going with light years, more than years, though. He said it was a 30-year travel, and in it they were in a hyper sleep. It pretty much says they're like dehydrated and then realived. And the whole first chapter is them landing, and it is nuts. Acceptable lossage keeps being brought up. Arten, though, is quickly finding out the political structure of the camp, how things are done, his place in it, what is really going on here. That's not quite what they've been told at home, because they don't want to tell the full details of Kiln until they can make it fit in the narrative. And the big thing here is symbiosis and parasitic life. And if you've read any of Adrian Tchaikovsky's books, you know the science is there. And this is a lot of biology, a little bit of chemistry in this one, and just talking about the parasites and symbiosis. And maybe that is where it just got me, because it was a lot of biology was brought up again and again. And politics. This one is politically heavy, more so than any of the other ones. And there was this whole thing about recreating the revolution on Kiln for a little bit, like within the prison labor groups, the revolutionary meetings. Maybe that's a spoiler, but I'm sorry. That whole thing, it just didn't. I get it. You are in a horrible situation. You hate your horrible situation. You want to make it better. Totally agree with all those things. With the end of it, it was a good ending. I liked how it wrapped up. I liked how we concluded. At the same point, it felt, I don't know, felt too clean, maybe. It was a 3.5 though. This one ended up being a 3.5, sadly. I just didn't care enough. I didn't feel it enough, and bits of it just weren't. Yeah. Now we move on, though, to the last book of the month, and the most disappointing. I had thought that it might not go as great, because the one before it in the series, I think, went okay. And that seems to be my trick with the series. Is it good to bad? But it is the ending one, right? It's the ending, so we have to pull it off. It has to be fine. So each color pretty much is a different perspective. And at one point I just gave up and said random. Like there's a whole color that's just from random people. All of chapter 6, and then again in chapter 11, I want to say 10. Okay, no wait, maybe that was 8. Shh. Hold on. Okay, my bad. All of chapter 8 and all of chapter 10 are completely from other people's perspectives besides our main characters. You do not get them at all. And most of chapter 8, as you would see from people, they died. Continuously, you would be transferred to somebody's mind and then they die. This is the final book in the Witcher series, if you couldn't tell, Lady of the Lake. And in the first chapter, you actually get to find out, why it's called Lady of the Lake and the tie-in there. That's cool. I'll give it that. Okay. This is the last book, so I can't talk about it as much, but we're following Geralt, Ciri, and Yennefer, as we have been through the whole book. Ciri's the Child of Destiny. Geralt is the Witcher, who is tied to Ciri and is her guardian figure and her defender and her protector. In this one, though, Ciri is a young adult. I don't know if her age is ever mentioned. She's an older teenager, maybe. So she can realistically kind of defend herself, though there were stupid points where it's like, oh no, I am not defending myself. Yes, Ciri has a lot of trauma and a lot of things she's trying to get over. And her attitude, though, is still pretty good throughout most of it. She's still snarky at bits, and what I absolutely could not stand that continuously happened is the people who, have been after Ciri through the whole series pretty much. But 4 different instances in this book, they took it for a very, very specific reason. They monologued about how and why they wanted to do this and why it was necessary. Okay, if she's this child of prophecy, she has this great power, and you're like, oh, but you're pretty much useless. It's the next generation we want, if you can get my meaning there. I'm still not trying to say the spoilers, but it's just so mad that is legitly why everyone wants her. No other reason than to do that to her, to use her for that. And the amount of times that, something almost happened. It was just so much. I'm just like, oh my God, I'm over it. I'm tired of this. And even the war that was going on, the battle, the big battle and everything that was supposed to be happening, chapter 8, as we're hopping perspectives, though. We are constantly hopping perspectives, and that's how we're finding out what's happening on everywhere. And then we're going to the future, and they're recollecting back. I hated it. And I'm trying to understand why, if I love world building and we're trying to say about the world and give the, view of what happened, but it's just the way he did it. I'm okay with how Ciri's storyline ended. The others, though, I am not. And that's all I'll say about this one. I'm going to stop talking about it because I'm so irritated with it. And I don't know if I'm going to keep the books now because I don't know that I want to keep the books because I didn't. Why? Okay. These are the ones that we managed to accomplish and finish in July. It felt like such a mixed bag. It started out so good, and then I guess I just ended on a sour note. I don't know. Also, this one took forever to get through. Mostly because I was not enjoying it, but I needed to finish it. At least I have another series I can mark off as I completed this year. That's great. I'm happy with that. I'd love to know how your July reading went. Maybe you got done all the ones you wanted to. They were good reads. That's the most important book part, right? They were great reads. If you enjoyed this video, you might check out some of my others and subscribe if you like my style. Hopefully you're finding something great to read today, though, and I'll see you in the next one.